The message sat on Naomi Bennett's phone screen, mocking her with 3 simple words: "Message failed to send." She stared at it, her fingers trembling as she held the device. Below that failure notice was her text, the one she tried to send 20 minutes ago: "Have a safe flight. I love you." Trevor had blocked her. Her husband of 6 years had actually blocked her number before boarding his plane to New York. Alone. Naomi sat on the edge of their bed in their Atlanta apartment, sunlight streaming through the white curtains, making the room almost too bright for the darkness spreading through her chest. She wore a green cotton dress she'd put on this morning, thinking maybe today would be different. Maybe today he'd look at her the way he used to. The conversation from last night replayed in her mind like a cruel recording she couldn't stop. "I need space, Naomi." Trevor had said it while packing his suitcase, not even looking at her. He folded a blue shirt with careful precision, as if the creases mattered more than her feelings. "Space? We live together. How much more space do you need?" She tried to keep her voice steady, tried not to sound desperate. "I'm taking a vacation. Solo. Just me. I need to think." "Think about what?" "About us." He'd finally looked at her then, his brown eyes flat and distant. "I just need time away from this. From everything. From you asking me questions all the time. Trevor, I barely see you anymore. You work late every night. You don't talk to me. When I try to make plans, you cancel. What's happening to us?" This is what's happening. You're always pushing, always needing something from me. I can't breathe." The words had felt like a slap. She'd stepped back, actually physically stepped backward as if he'd raised his hand. "So you're going to New York? For how long?" "A week. Maybe more. I don't know. I'll figure it out when I'm there. Can I at least call you? Text you?" He'd zipped his suitcase with a sharp sound. "I'd rather you didn't. That's the whole point. Space means space, Naomi." She'd stood there in their bedroom, the same room where they'd made love, made plans, made promises, and watched him walk out with his rolling suitcase at 5 in the morning. He hadn't kissed her goodbye. Hadn't even touched her. Now, 6 hours later, she sat with a failed text message and the crushing realization that her husband had blocked her phone number. Naomi looked around the bedroom. Everything was so neat, so perfect. The cream-colored walls held their wedding photos, images of 2 people who looked happy, in love, certain of their future. The blue comforter on the bed was the one they'd picked out together 3 years ago. Her graphic design sketches were stacked on her desk near the window, projects she'd been excited to show Trevor before he stopped caring about her work. When had it started? When had Trevor stopped loving her? She thought back over the past year. The signs had been there, hadn't they? The way he started working later and later. The way he stopped asking about her day. The canceled dinner reservations. The time she dressed up in a red dress, his favorite color, and he'd barely noticed. The growing silence between them that felt like an ocean she couldn't cross. 3 months ago, she'd suggested they take a trip together. He'd said he was too busy. 2 months ago, she planned a special dinner for his birthday. He'd come home 4 hours late, said he forgot. Last month, she tried to initiate intimacy and he turned away, claiming exhaustion. She'd blamed herself. Maybe she wasn't attractive enough anymore. Maybe she was too needy, too boring. Maybe if she just gave him space, tried harder, complained less, he'd come back to her. But now he'd gone to New York. Blocked her number. Told her not to contact him. Naomi's phone buzzed. For one desperate second, her heart leaped. Maybe it was Trevor, unblocking her, apologizing, saying he'd made a mistake. But it was just an email notification. A client asking about logo designs. She dropped the phone onto the bed and pressed her hands against her face. Her wedding ring caught the sunlight, the small diamond glinting. She'd been so happy the day he proposed. They'd been at the botanical gardens, surrounded by flowers and sunshine, and he'd gotten down on one knee and promised her forever. Forever. The word tasted bitter now. Naomi stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the Atlanta summer sun blazed bright and hot. People walked down the street below, going about their lives. Normal lives. Lives where their husbands didn't block them and flee to another city. She caught her reflection in the mirror near the closet. She barely recognized herself. Her natural curly hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Her warm brown skin looked dull, exhausted. The green dress hung loose on her frame. When had she stopped taking care of herself? When had she become this woman who begged for crumbs of attention from a man who clearly didn't want her anymore? Her phone sat on the bed, screen dark. She picked it up again, scrolled through their text history. The messages from the past few months were mostly from her. Dinner at 7? How was your day? I miss you. Are you coming home tonight? His responses were brief, dismissive. Working late. Fine. Busy. Don't wait up. How had she not seen it? How had she convinced herself that this was normal, that marriages went through rough patches, that if she just held on, things would get better? The apartment felt too quiet. Usually Trevor's presence filled it, even when he was being distant. The sound of his laptop keyboard clicking as he worked on architectural designs. The coffee maker he used every morning. The TV he watched late at night when he didn't want to come to bed. Now it was just her and the silence and the failed text message on her phone. Naomi sat back down on the bed, pulling her knees to her chest. The green fabric of her dress bunched around her legs. She thought about calling her sister Brenda, but what would she say? My husband blocked me and went on vacation without me, and I don't know what to do? It sounded pathetic. She sounded pathetic. Maybe Trevor was right. Maybe she was too much. Too needy. Too clingy. Maybe she'd driven him away with her constant questions, her desire for connection, her foolish belief that married people should actually talk to each other and spend time together. The tears came then, hot and bitter, sliding down her cheeks and dampening the collar of her green dress. She cried quietly, the way she'd learned to cry over the past few months. Quiet tears that wouldn't disturb Trevor, wouldn't make him feel guilty, wouldn't give him another reason to pull away. But Trevor wasn't here. He was on a plane to New York, his phone set to block any message from his wife. He was free from her at least for a week. Maybe longer. Maybe forever. That thought made her stomach twist. Maybe this wasn't just a vacation. Maybe this was the beginning of the end. Maybe Trevor had already decided their marriage was over, and this trip was his way of easing into it. Get some distance. Clear his head. Come back and tell her he wanted a divorce. Naomi wiped her eyes and looked at her phone one more time. The failed message mocked her. She deleted it, watching the words disappear from the screen. Then she did something she hadn't done in months. She opened her Photos app and scrolled back through the years. There were pictures of them from last year, smiling at a friend's wedding. 2 years ago at the beach, Trevor's arms around her waist. 3 years ago, moving into this apartment, both of them exhausted but happy. 4 years ago, their honeymoon in Jamaica, the ocean behind them, their faces glowing with joy and possibility. When had that couple disappeared? When had they become these strangers who lived in the same space but existed in different worlds? The sunlight in the room seemed too bright now, too harsh. It illuminated every corner, every surface, leaving no shadows to hide in. The cream walls, the blue comforter, the wedding photos, all of it felt like evidence of a life that no longer existed. Naomi set her phone down and lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She had a week. Maybe more. Trevor had said he'd figure it out when he got there. A week to wait. A week to wonder. A week to hope he'd miss her, realize he'd made a mistake, come home ready to fix things. Or a week to face the truth that her marriage was already over. She closed her eyes, exhausted from crying, exhausted from hoping, exhausted from loving someone who didn't love her back anymore. The message on her phone remained deleted, but the reality of it sat heavy in her chest. Message failed to send. Just like her marriage. Failed to send. Failed to connect. Failed completely. Naomi woke up on the couch 3 hours later, disoriented and aching. Afternoon light poured through the windows, making the living room almost painfully bright. She'd fallen asleep in her green dress, mascara dried on her cheeks, feeling like the saddest cliché of an abandoned wife. She stood and stretched, her body stiff from sleeping curled up on the cushions. The apartment was still silent. No Trevor. No sound of his keys in the door. No coffee brewing. Nothing. She needed to do something. Anything. Sitting around crying wasn't going to change the situation. Naomi walked to the bathroom and washed her face, the cold water shocking her into fuller awareness. Her reflection looked better with the makeup residue gone. She was still beautiful, she reminded herself. 32 years old, healthy, successful in her own right as a graphic designer. She wasn't just Trevor's wife. She was Naomi Bennett, a person with her own value. Why did that feel so hard to remember? She changed out of the green dress and into comfortable jeans and a red t-shirt, pulling her curly hair into a fresh ponytail. If she was going to wallow, she might as well be comfortable while doing it. The bedroom needed cleaning. That could occupy her mind. She started picking up, straightening, organizing. Trevor had left in such a hurry this morning that he'd left things scattered around. A charging cable on his nightstand. A magazine about architecture on the floor. Random papers on his dresser. And his iPad. Naomi picked it up without thinking. Trevor had taken his phone but left the tablet. He used it mostly for work, reviewing blueprints and architectural plans. She'd borrowed it before to look at recipes or watch videos when her own devices were charging. She turned it on, intending to put it away in his desk drawer where it belonged. The screen lit up, no password required. Trevor never bothered locking his iPad since it stayed at home most of the time. The screen showed his last opened app. Messages. Naomi's finger hovered over the screen. She should close it. She should respect his privacy. She should put the iPad away and not look at something that wasn't meant for her eyes. But her finger touched the screen anyway. The message thread at the top was from someone named S, with a heart emoji next to the name. Naomi's stomach dropped before she even opened it. She tapped the thread. Messages filled the screen, hundreds of them dating back 8 months. 8 months. The most recent was from yesterday, right before Trevor left for New York. Have a perfect trip, baby. Think about us. Think about our future together. I can't wait until you're finally free. Naomi's hands started shaking. She scrolled up, reading more. Trevor's response, I know. This week will give me clarity. I need to see if I can imagine life without her. If I can, then I'll know what to do. He was talking about his own wife like she was an obstacle, a problem to solve. Naomi sat down hard on the edge of the bed, the iPad clutched in her trembling hands. She kept scrolling, kept reading, each message a knife in her chest. 3 weeks ago. S. When are you going to tell Naomi? You said you'd do it soon. Trevor, I'm working up to it. It's complicated. We've been together for years. I can't just drop it on her out of nowhere. S. You've been saying that for months. Do you even love her anymore? Trevor, no. I don't think I have for a while. I just feel guilty. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's just not what I want anymore. Naomi's vision blurred with tears, but she kept reading. 2 months ago. Trevor, I can't keep doing this. Pretending at home, being with you when I can. I feel like I'm living 2 lives. S. Then choose. Choose me. Choose us. We're good together. You said so yourself. Trevor, I know. You make me feel alive. With Naomi it's just routine. Boring. The same conversations, the same expectations. I need more than that. 1 month ago. S. I found an apartment. 2 bedrooms. Perfect for when you move out. Come see it with me? Trevor, you're amazing. Yes. I'll tell her I'm working late. The messages went on and on. Details about their affair. Meeting at hotels. Stolen afternoons. Complaints about Naomi. Plans for their future together. And photos. God, the photos. Naomi's hand flew to her mouth as she scrolled through the images. The woman, this S, was younger, maybe late 20s. Long dark hair. Confident smile. Pictures of her and Trevor together, his arm around her waist, kissing her cheek, lying in bed together. In one photo they were at a restaurant, drinks in front of them, looking at each other like they were the only people in the world. Naomi recognized Trevor's blue shirt. The same one he'd worn when he told her he had to work late one Saturday 3 weeks ago. She kept scrolling through messages, her brain trying to process the sheer volume of betrayal. Then she found the conversation from 4 months ago, and her blood ran cold. Trevor, I opened a separate account today. Just in case. I'm moving money there gradually so Naomi doesn't notice. S. Smart. You need to protect yourself. Is it a lot? Trevor, 20,000 so far. I'll move more over the next few months. She checks our joint account sometimes, but she doesn't look at my work account. I can transfer from there. Naomi's breath came in short gasps. He'd been stealing from their marriage. Planning his exit. Moving money behind her back while she'd been trying to figure out how to save their relationship. She found more messages about finances. Trevor discussing how to separate their assets. How to minimize what he'd have to give her in a divorce. How to make sure he kept the car, the savings, everything he could. I don't want to lose everything because of a mistake I made 6 years ago, he'd written. A mistake. Their marriage. 6 years together. A mistake. Naomi dropped the iPad onto the bed and ran to the bathroom. She made it just in time before she threw up, her body rejecting the reality of what she'd discovered. She knelt on the cold tile floor, the bright overhead light making her squint. Her red shirt was twisted around her torso. Her hands gripped the edge of the toilet. She'd never felt so small, so stupid, so completely demolished. 8 months. He'd been cheating on her for 8 months. While she'd been blaming herself, trying harder, wearing pretty dresses to get his attention, he'd been with another woman. Planning a future without her. Stealing money from their accounts. All those late nights at work. All those canceled plans. All those times he'd been distant, irritable, unavailable. It hadn't been about work or stress or needing space. He'd been with someone else. Naomi stood on shaky legs and washed her face again, rinsed her mouth. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her brown eyes were red from crying. Her skin looked gray despite the harsh bathroom lighting. Who was she kidding? She wasn't beautiful. She wasn't enough. If she were enough, Trevor wouldn't have needed someone else. No. The thought came hard and fast. No. This wasn't about her not being enough. This was about Trevor being a liar and a cheat. This was about him making vows and breaking them. This was about him being too cowardly to end things honestly, so he'd snuck around instead. Naomi walked back to the bedroom and picked up the iPad again. She needed to know everything. Every detail. Every lie. She found the woman's full name in an earlier message, Sienna Hayes. She found where they'd met, at a conference Trevor attended for work. 8 months and 2 weeks ago to be exact. She found messages where Trevor complained about everything. About Naomi wanting to spend time together. About her asking how his day was. About her cooking dinner and expecting him to eat it with her. About her existing in his space and having the audacity to want a real marriage. She found messages where he called her boring, plain, too simple. Where he said Sienna was exciting, adventurous, spontaneous. Where he said being with Sienna felt like being alive again. And she found the messages about this trip to New York. So this is it? You're going away to think about whether you want to be with me or stay with her? Trevor, I need to see if I can do it. If I can actually walk away from my marriage. It's a big step. This week alone will help me figure out what I really want. And if you decide you want me, Trevor, then I'll come back and end things with Naomi. I'll tell her it's over. I'll move out. We can start our life together. And if you decide you want to stay with her, Trevor, then I guess we'll have to end this. But honestly, I don't think that's what I'll choose. I just need time to be sure. The messages were from 2 days ago. Right before Trevor started packing. Right before he told Naomi he needed space. This whole trip, this entire cruel gesture of blocking her and leaving her alone, it wasn't about thinking. It was a test. Trevor was testing himself to see if he could live without his wife. And based on everything else she'd read, he'd already decided the answer was yes. Naomi's sadness hardened into something else. Something sharper. Anger. No, not just anger. Rage. A cold, clear fury that burned away the tears and the self-doubt. She took screenshots. Every message. Every photo. Every conversation about money and plans and betrayal. She sent them all to her own email, creating a detailed record of everything. Then she looked at the time. It was 4 in the afternoon. Trevor had been gone for 11 hours. He'd be in New York by now, probably settling into his hotel, probably texting Sienna about how free he felt. Naomi had 6 more days before he came back. Maybe longer. 6 days to wait for him to decide her fate. 6 days to sit in this apartment like a pathetic fool, hoping her cheating husband would choose her over his mistress. Or she could choose herself. The thought crystallized in her mind, sharp and clear. She didn't have to wait for Trevor to decide. She didn't have to sit here hoping and praying that he'd realize what he was giving up. She didn't have to compete with Sienna Hayes for her own husband's attention. She could leave first. Naomi stood up, the iPad still in her hand. She walked to the window and looked out at the bright Atlanta afternoon. The sun was still high, the sky clear and blue. She thought about her grandmother, who'd raised her after her parents died when she was young. Grandma Ruth had been strong, fierce, uncompromising. She'd told Naomi something when she was 16, after a boy had broken her heart. Baby girl, never beg anyone to stay. Never make yourself small to fit into someone else's life. If they don't see your value, that's their blindness, not your flaw. You walk away with your head high. Naomi had forgotten that advice somewhere along the way. She'd spent months making herself smaller, quieter, less demanding, trying to be whatever Trevor wanted. But Trevor didn't want her. He'd made that clear. So she would do what Grandma Ruth had taught her. She would walk away with her head high. But not yet. Not tonight. Tonight she would plan. Naomi pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the name she needed. Darius Cole. She and Darius had gone to college together. He'd become a successful attorney, specializing in family law. They'd stayed friends over the years, Christmas cards and occasional coffee meetups. She sent him a text. I need help. Legal help. Can we talk soon? It's about my marriage. The response came within minutes. Of course. How about tomorrow morning? My office at 9? Naomi typed back. I'll be there. Thank you. She set her phone down and looked around the bedroom one more time. The wedding photos on the walls. The blue comforter. The life she'd built with Trevor. She had 6 days to dismantle it all. And she would do it so completely, so thoroughly, that when Trevor came back from New York expecting to find her waiting, he'd find nothing but empty space. The blocked message on her phone suddenly seemed funny. Trevor thought he was the one in control. He thought he was the one making decisions about their future. He had no idea that Naomi Bennett was about to become the one thing he never expected, gone. Naomi couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Trevor's iPad beside her like evidence at a crime scene. The bedroom felt different now that she knew the truth. The wedding photos weren't sweet memories anymore. They were lies captured in frames. At 2:07 a.m. she gave up on sleep. She grabbed her phone and called the one person who would answer at this hour. Hello. Brenda's voice was thick with sleep but immediately concerned. Naomi? What's wrong? Can you come over? I need you. I'm on my way. 25 minutes later, Naomi heard keys in the door. She'd given Brenda a spare key years ago, and now she was grateful for it. Her older sister appeared in the doorway, wearing sweatpants and a maroon hoodie, her hair wrapped in a silk scarf. What happened? Brenda rushed over, taking in Naomi's appearance. Where's Trevor? New York. He went on vacation. Without me. Naomi's voice cracked. Brenda, he's having an affair. What? Naomi handed her the iPad. Read it. All of it. I found everything. Brenda sat down on the couch, the bright lamp beside her illuminating her face as she scrolled through the messages. Naomi watched her sister's expression change from confusion to shock to fury. 8 months. Brenda's voice was sharp. This man has been cheating on you for 8 months? Keep reading. It gets worse. Brenda scrolled further, her jaw tightening. When she reached the messages about the money, she looked up at Naomi with fire in her eyes. He's stealing from you. He's literally moving money behind your back. I know. Naomi. Brenda set the iPad down. You need a lawyer. Right now. Tonight. This man is planning to divorce you and take everything he can. I already contacted someone. Darius Cole. Remember him from college? The guy who was always in the library? Became an attorney? Yes. I'm meeting him tomorrow morning. Brenda stood up and started pacing, her hands gesturing as she talked. Okay. Good. That's good. What else? What's your plan? I don't know yet. I found out today. He blocked my phone number before he left. I tried to text him and couldn't. That's when I found the iPad. He blocked you. Brenda's voice rose. He blocked his own wife? He said he needed space. Turns out he needed space to figure out if he wants to be with her or stay with me. Brenda sat back down, took Naomi's hands. Listen to me. You remember what Grandma Ruth used to say? Naomi's eyes filled with tears. Never beg anyone to stay. That's right. And you're not going to beg Trevor. You're not going to wait around for him to decide if you're good enough. You're going to take control of this situation. How? First, you're going to meet with Darius tomorrow and find out your legal options. Second, you're going to protect your money. Third. Brenda paused, a fierce look crossing her face. Third, you're going to disappear before Trevor comes back. Disappear? He left you alone to go play house with his mistress in his mind? Fine. Let him come back to an empty apartment. Let him see what it feels like to have someone just vanish. The idea sent a chill through Naomi. But where would I go? You'll stay with me until you find your own place. We'll move your stuff while he's gone. We'll make it like you were never here. That seems extreme. Brenda squeezed Naomi's hands. Extreme? Naomi, this man has been lying to you for 8 months. He's been stealing money. He's been planning to leave you. You think you owe him a conversation? You think you owe him the chance to manipulate you into staying while he figures out his next move? Naomi wiped her eyes. I loved him, Brenda. I still love him. Part of me wants to wait for him to come back to talk to him to see if maybe what? He'll realize he's made a mistake? He'll choose you over Sienna? And then what? You take him back after this? Naomi didn't answer. Look at me. Brenda waited until Naomi met her eyes. Even if Trevor came back tomorrow and begged for forgiveness, even if he ended things with Sienna right now, could you ever trust him again? I don't know. Yes, you do. You know the answer. You'd always wonder where he was, who he was texting, if he was telling the truth. You'd check his phone, question every late night at work, live in constant fear of it happening again. That's not a marriage. That's a prison. Naomi knew Brenda was right. The thought of taking Trevor back, even if he wanted to come back, made her feel sick. How could she ever believe anything he said again? What about the apartment? The lease is in both our names. Darius will handle it. There are ways to get your name off a lease, especially with proof of infidelity and financial misconduct. Trust me, Trevor won't want this to get ugly. I don't want it to get ugly either. I just want out. Then we make it clean. Fast. We document everything, protect your assets, and you leave before he even knows what's happening. Naomi looked around the living room. The furniture they'd picked out together. The art on the walls, some of it pieces she'd designed herself. The bookshelf filled with both their books, their tastes mixed together. 5 days. She had 5 days to undo 6 years. I'm scared, Naomi whispered. Brenda put her arm around her. I know. But you're stronger than you think. You built a successful career on your own. You've survived losing Mom and Dad, losing Grandma Ruth. You'll survive this too. What if I can't do it? What if I fall apart? Then you fall apart. And I'll be right there to pick you up. That's what sisters do. They sat together on the couch, the apartment silent around them. Outside, Atlanta slept, unaware of the life falling apart inside this 4th-floor unit. Tell me about her, Brenda said quietly. The other woman. Sienna. She's younger. Prettier. More exciting apparently. Stop. Don't do that to yourself. He said I was boring. Plain. Too simple. He's an idiot who doesn't deserve you. Then why does it hurt so much? Brenda didn't have an answer for that. They sat in silence and eventually, Naomi rested her head on her sister's shoulder. What do I do tomorrow? Naomi asked. After I meet with Darius? You start the process. File separation papers. Document the affair. Protect your money. And we start moving your stuff out little by little. He'll notice if things disappear. He won't be back for 5 more days. We can move almost everything in that time. Besides, men never notice details. He probably couldn't tell you what color the couch is. Naomi laughed despite herself. It's blue. See? You notice. He doesn't. They talked until dawn broke over Atlanta, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange through the windows. The bright morning light felt like a new beginning, even though Naomi's heart was shattered. At 7, Brenda made coffee. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Naomi had eaten breakfast with Trevor thousands of times. I need to call Paula, Naomi said suddenly. My business partner. I need to tell her what's happening. Good idea. She'll support you. She's always been Team Naomi. At 8, Naomi showered and dressed carefully in gray slacks and a blue blouse. Professional. Put together. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and tried to see the strong woman Brenda insisted she was. All she saw was someone broken. But maybe broken things could be fixed. Or replaced. Or rebuilt into something entirely new. At 8:45, Naomi and Brenda drove to Darius Cole's office downtown. The building was sleek and modern, all glass and steel reflecting the morning sun. Darius met them in his office, which had a view of the city skyline. He looked the same as Naomi remembered, maybe a bit older, his hairline slightly receded, but the same kind eyes behind his glasses. Naomi. He hugged her briefly. I'm sorry you're going through this. Thank you for seeing me so quickly. Of course. Tell me everything. Naomi did. She showed him the screenshots she'd saved from Trevor's iPad. She explained about the blocked phone number, the solo vacation, the 8-month affair. She told him about the money Trevor had been moving. Darius took notes, his expression growing grimmer with each detail. This is bad, he said finally. But it's also very good for you legally speaking. He's left a clear paper trail. The messages prove adultery. The financial transfers prove he was preparing to leave. You have leverage. I don't want leverage. I just want out. I understand. But in divorce proceedings, leverage matters. It determines what you walk away with. He leaned forward. Naomi, I need to ask you something important. What do you want from this divorce? I want it to be over. I want to move on with my life. Okay, but specifically, do you want the apartment? Do you want spousal support? Do you want a portion of his retirement accounts? Do you want him to pay for the lawyer fees? Naomi hadn't thought that far ahead. She looked at Brenda, who nodded encouragingly. I want what's fair. I want my money back, the money I contributed. I want my things. I don't want the apartment because I don't want to live there anymore. I don't need spousal support because I make my own money. I just want a clean break. Then that's what we'll fight for. A clean, fair break. Darius typed on his computer. I'm going to draft separation papers today. I'll file them tomorrow. You'll be legally separated within the week. That fast. When there's documented adultery and financial misconduct, yes, it can move very quickly. Especially if you're not fighting over assets. What happens when Trevor finds out? His attorney will contact him. He'll have a chance to respond. But Naomi, given what you've shown me, I don't think he'll fight this. He's already planning to leave. You're just beating him to it. The words settled over her. She was beating him to it. She was leaving first. It felt powerful and terrifying at the same time. They spent another hour going over details. Darius explained the legal process, what documents she needed, how to protect her bank accounts. He gave her homework. Gather financial records, document all joint assets, list everything she wanted to take from the apartment. When they left his office, Naomi felt both exhausted and energized. She had a plan. She had help. She had a way forward. Brenda drove them to her house, a small bungalow in a quiet neighborhood. You're staying here tonight, she announced. No arguments. I should go back to the apartment. I have work to do there. Tomorrow. Today you rest. You process. You let yourself feel whatever you're feeling without being in that space where he betrayed you. Naomi couldn't argue with that logic. That evening, sitting on Brenda's back porch, watching the sun set in brilliant oranges and purples, Naomi called Paula. Hey girl, Paula answered cheerfully. What's up? Are you sitting down? Naomi told her everything. Paula listened without interrupting, and when Naomi finished, there was a long silence. I'm going to kill him, Paula said finally. Please don't. I need you not in jail. Naomi, I'm so sorry. I knew something was off with him lately, but I never thought, an affair. God, 8 months. I know. What can I do? How can I help? Actually, I have an idea. Remember how we always talked about starting our own design firm? Just you and me? Of course. We've been talking about that for years. I think now's the time. I need a fresh start. I need something that's completely mine. Will you do it with me? Paula didn't hesitate. Yes, absolutely yes. Let's build something amazing. They talked for another hour, making plans, dreaming about their business. For the first time all day, Naomi felt something other than pain. She felt hope. That night, sleeping in Brenda's guest room in a borrowed nightshirt, Naomi thought about the next 5 days. 5 days to reclaim her life. 5 days to become someone new. Trevor had blocked her number, trying to erase her from his life temporarily. She would erase herself from his life permanently. And unlike Trevor, she wouldn't need to run away to New York to figure out what she wanted. She already knew. She wanted freedom. She wanted peace. She wanted a life where she didn't have to beg for crumbs of affection from someone who'd promised her everything. 5 days. The countdown had begun. Day 1 began at sunrise. Naomi stood in the apartment she'd shared with Trevor, a notepad in her hand and determination in her chest. Brenda was beside her, and Paula had arrived with coffee in boxes. Okay, Paula said, setting down 3 large cups. What's the plan? Naomi looked around the living room. In the bright morning light streaming through the windows, everything looked so normal. So innocent. As if this space hadn't housed lies and betrayal for 8 months. First, I'm photographing everything. Every room. Every piece of furniture. Every item that belongs to me. Documentation. Smart, Brenda nodded. In case he claims you took things that were his. Naomi spent the next hour walking through the apartment with her phone, taking pictures. The blue couch in the living room, which she'd bought with her own money. Her desk by the window where she worked on design projects. Her grandmother's quilt folded on a chair. The kitchen table they'd purchased together. The bedroom furniture, also a joint purchase. She photographed everything, creating a detailed record. Then she made lists. Items to take. Items to leave. Items that were joint purchases that she didn't care about anymore. The TV. Brenda pointed. Leave it. I'll buy a new one. The coffee maker? Leave it. I never liked that one anyway. Your clothes? All of them. Every single thing. They worked methodically. Naomi went through her closet, pulling out dresses, shirts, pants, shoes. She had more clothes than she'd realized. The green dress from 2 days ago when everything fell apart. A red sundress she'd worn on their anniversary last year, when Trevor had barely looked at her. A blue blazer she wore for client meetings. Pack all of it, she told Paula, who was folding items into boxes with care. In the bathroom, Naomi gathered her toiletries, makeup, skincare products. She left behind anything Trevor had given her. The expensive perfume he'd bought for her birthday. The robe he'd gifted her last Christmas. All of it stayed. She only wanted things that were hers, purchased by her, chosen by her. Next came her office supplies and design materials. Sketch pads, drawing tablets, her laptop, external hard drives with all her work files. She packed them carefully, making sure nothing was damaged. What about the wedding album? Brenda held up the white leather book from a shelf. Naomi looked at it for a long moment. Inside were photos of the happiest day of her life. Or what she thought was the happiest day. Now those images felt like evidence of her own naivety. Leave it. I don't want to look at those pictures ever again. You sure? I'm sure. By noon they had filled 10 boxes. They loaded them into Brenda's SUV and Paula's sedan, making the first trip to a storage unit Brenda had rented under her own name. The unit was climate-controlled, secure, and most importantly, somewhere Trevor would never find. They made 3 more trips that day, working steadily, stopping only for sandwiches Paula picked up from a deli. By evening, Naomi's personal belongings were gone from the apartment. Her clothes, her books, her art supplies, her grandmother's quilt, her kitchen items, everything that mattered to her. What remained looked sparse but not alarming. The furniture was still there. Trevor's things were untouched. To a casual observer, it might look like Naomi had just done some spring cleaning. But she knew the truth. She was erasing herself from this space, one box at a time. Day 1 complete, Paula announced, collapsing on the blue couch. How are you feeling? Exhausted. But good. This feels right. You're incredibly strong, you know that? Paula looked at her with admiration. Most people would be falling apart. I fell apart yesterday. Today I'm taking action. Brenda ordered dinner, and they ate sitting on the floor since most of the kitchen chairs had been cleared. Tomorrow, Brenda would arrange for movers to come for the furniture Naomi wanted. That night, Naomi slept at Brenda's house again. She was too tired to dream. Day 2 started with a phone call from Darius. Papers are filed, he said. You're officially separated as of this morning. Trevor's attorney will be notified by end of day. What happens then? Trevor will find out. He'll probably try to contact you. Block his number if you haven't already. Don't engage. Let all communication go through attorneys. Okay. Also, I need you to come by my office this afternoon. We need to discuss the financial aspects in more detail. Naomi met with Darius at 2. He showed her bank statements, account records, proof of Trevor's transfers to his hidden account. Total amount he moved, $23,000 over 4 months, Darius explained. That's marital property. You're entitled to half at minimum. I want it all back. That money came from our joint account. I contributed to that account. We can argue that. And given his adultery, a judge will likely side with you. They discussed assets. The car, which was in Trevor's name. The furniture, which was a mix of joint purchases and individual items. The apartment lease, which Naomi wanted her name removed from immediately. I can expedite that, Darius assured her. Given the circumstances, the landlord will likely cooperate. After the meeting, Naomi met movers at the apartment. Professional men who didn't ask questions, just loaded furniture onto their truck according to her instructions. The blue couch went. The desk by the window. The kitchen table and chairs. 2 bookshelves. Her dresser. Everything that was hers or that she'd contributed money toward. By evening the apartment looked bare. Hollow. The wedding photos still hung on the walls, but the furniture beneath them was gone. Trevor's stuff remained, his chair, his desk, his side of the bedroom, but Naomi's presence was vanishing. Paula helped her clean, wiping down surfaces, vacuuming, leaving no trace of the moving process. He's going to freak out when he sees this, Paula said. Good. Day 3 brought apartment hunting. Naomi and Brenda looked at 5 different places, all across town from the life she'd built with Trevor. She found one she loved. A 2-bedroom in a building with large windows, bright natural light, and a small balcony overlooking a park. The walls were cream-colored, blank canvases ready for her to fill with new memories. She signed the lease that afternoon, paying first and last month's rent plus deposit. The money came from her personal savings account, the one Trevor didn't have access to. She could move in immediately. Day 4 was moving day. The furniture from storage, the boxes from Brenda's house, all of it came to Naomi's new apartment. Friends helped, people Paula called who showed up with willing hands and kind words. By evening Naomi had a home. Her furniture arranged. Her clothes hung in the closet. Her design equipment set up in the 2nd bedroom, which would be her office. She stood on the balcony as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant purples and golds. This was hers. Only hers. No shared space. No compromises. No lies. I'm proud of you, Brenda said, joining her on the balcony. Look what you did in 4 days. I couldn't have done it without you. You could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to. Day 5 was the hardest. Naomi drove back to the old apartment one last time. She had her keys, but after today she'd give them to Darius to pass on to Trevor's attorney. The apartment looked pathetic now. Trevor's furniture scattered across too much empty space. The walls still holding their wedding photos, now looking ridiculous without context. Naomi walked through each room slowly, saying goodbye. Not to the space, but to the woman she'd been when she lived here. The woman who'd believed in forever. The woman who'd blamed herself for her husband's distance. The woman who'd begged for crumbs of affection. That woman was gone now. In the bedroom, Naomi opened the nightstand drawer and pulled out her wedding ring. She'd taken it off 2 days ago and hadn't put it back on. She looked at the small diamond, remembering the day Trevor proposed. He'd been so sure. So confident. She'd believed him completely. Had he ever really loved her? Or had she just been convenient at the time? She'd never know the answer to that question. And after 5 days of action, 5 days of reclaiming her life, she realized she didn't need to know. Naomi set the ring on the kitchen counter. Beside it, she placed an envelope with her name written in her own careful handwriting. Inside was a letter. She'd written it last night, sitting at her new kitchen table, trying to find words for everything she felt. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't begging. It was just honest, clear, final. She didn't seal the envelope. Let Trevor read it. Let him understand what he'd lost. Naomi took one last look around the apartment, this space that had held her hopes and dreams and ultimately her heartbreak. Then she walked out, locking the door behind her. She dropped the keys in Darius's office mailbox, along with a note confirming she'd cleared her belongings and left her wedding ring and letter for Trevor. That evening, sitting in her new apartment with Brenda and Paula, eating takeout and drinking wine, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in months. Tomorrow he comes back, Paula said quietly. You ready? I'll never talk to him again, Naomi replied. So yes, I'm ready. What if he shows up here? He doesn't know where I live. And if he finds out, I won't answer the door. What if he calls? Blocked. Everything. Phone, email, social media. I deleted my accounts anyway. Fresh start. Brenda raised her wine glass. To Naomi Bennett. Strongest woman I know. They clinked glasses and Naomi smiled. A real smile. The first genuine one in days. Tomorrow Trevor would land in Atlanta. He'd go to the apartment expecting to find his wife waiting, probably worried, probably eager to talk about their marriage. Instead, he'd find empty rooms and a letter. Naomi had spent 5 days executing a plan. 5 days erasing herself from his life. 5 days building something new. And when Trevor walked through that apartment door, she'd be miles away in her bright new home, starting her fresh life. The countdown was over. The disappearing act was complete. Naomi woke up in her new apartment on day 6 feeling strange. Today was the day Trevor would return from New York. Today he'd discover everything. She made coffee in her new kitchen, the morning sun streaming through windows that faced east. Everything here was bright, clean, untouched by the past. Her red mug felt warm in her hands as she sat on her balcony, watching the park below come to life. Her phone was different now. New number which only Brenda, Paula, and Darius knew. Old number disconnected. Trevor couldn't reach her even if he tried. She wondered what time his flight landed. She wondered what he'd think when he walked into the apartment. Would he notice immediately? Or would it take him a moment to register that something was wrong? Last night, lying in bed in her new room, Naomi had thought about the letter she'd left. She debated writing it at all. Part of her wanted to just disappear without explanation, the way he'd blocked her without warning. But she wasn't Trevor. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't a coward. The letter had taken 3 drafts before she got it right. The first had been too angry, full of accusations and hurt. The second had been too sad, almost apologetic. The third, the one she'd left on the counter, was simple and true. She remembered every word. Trevor, by the time you read this I'll be gone. Completely. My things are moved out, my name is off the lease and I've filed separation papers. Your attorney has been notified. I found the messages on your iPad. All of them. 8 months worth. I know about Sienna Hayes. I know about the money you've been hiding. I know about your plans to leave me. I know everything. You blocked my number before you left for New York because you needed space to think. You wanted to test yourself to see if you could imagine life without me. You wanted to decide if you should stay with your wife or be with your girlfriend. I'm saving you the trouble of deciding. It's over. I'm choosing it to be over. I won't sit around waiting for you to pick me. I won't compete with another woman for my own husband's affection. I won't spend one more day wondering why I'm not enough, because I finally understand. This isn't about me not being enough. This is about you being dishonest, disloyal, and cruel. You complained to Sienna that I was boring, plain, too simple. You said being with me felt like routine, like obligation. You said I asked too many questions, wanted too much time with you, made you feel suffocated. All I ever wanted was a real marriage. Conversation. Connection. Time together. Apparently that was too much to ask. So I'm freeing you. You can have the life you wanted with Sienna. You can have your excitement, your adventure, your freedom from boring old me. And I'll have my self-respect. The separation papers include terms for splitting assets. Given your adultery and financial dishonesty, I suggest you accept them without contest. My attorney has all the evidence. Screenshots of every message, every photo, every conversation about hiding money from me. If you want this to be easy, you'll sign the papers. If you fight, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. I'm keeping the things I paid for or that were mine before we married. You can have everything else. I don't want the apartment. I don't want reminders. I just want out. Don't try to contact me. I've blocked you everywhere. My phone number is different. I've deleted my social media. You won't find me. 6 years ago you promised me forever. You promised me honesty, loyalty, love. You broke every promise. So I'm breaking free. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I hope Sienna makes you happy. I hope you figure out who you are and what you want. But you'll figure it out without me. Goodbye, Trevor. Naomi. She'd left her wedding ring beside the letter, the small diamond catching the light on the kitchen counter. Now, sitting on her balcony in the morning sun, Naomi wondered if she should have written something different. Something angrier. Something that would hurt him the way he'd hurt her. But no. The letter was perfect. It was honest without being vicious. It was clear without being cruel. It said everything that mattered. She was done. Her phone rang. New number but Brenda calling. Hey, Naomi answered. How are you doing? Today's the day, right? His flight lands at noon. He'll be at the apartment by 1 probably. You okay? I think so. I keep wondering what he'll do when he sees it. Who cares what he does? You're free, Naomi. That's what matters. They talked for a while and then Naomi got ready for the day. She had work to do. Designs to complete for clients. A business to build with Paula. Life kept moving forward even when your world fell apart. At her desk in her new office, surrounded by blank walls she'd soon fill with her art, Naomi opened her laptop and started working. She lost herself in colors and shapes, in creative problems that actually had solutions. Hours passed. She barely noticed. At 1:30 her phone buzzed. A text from Darius. Trevor's attorney just called me. He's at the apartment. Just found your letter. Attorney says he's in shock. Naomi stared at the message. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart didn't race. She just felt nothing. Maybe relief. Maybe satisfaction. Definitely finality. She texted back. Okay. Keep me updated if anything important happens. Darius, will do. How are you holding up? Naomi, I'm good. Really good actually. And she was. At 3 Brenda showed up with lunch. They ate on the balcony watching people in the park below walk their dogs, play with their kids, live their normal lives. Darius said Trevor found the letter. Naomi mentioned. Good. Let him stew in it. Do you think I was too harsh? Brenda looked at her seriously. Harsh? Naomi, you were a saint. You could have destroyed him publicly. You could have told all your friends, his family, his coworkers. You could have posted those screenshots online. You could have made his life hell. Instead, you quietly left and gave him a chance to end things with dignity if he signs the papers. That's not harsh. That's mercy. Naomi hadn't thought about it that way. She had been merciful, hadn't she? Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies, she'd given him an out that wouldn't ruin his reputation. You think he'll sign? She asked. If he's smart, yes. If he fights, he loses everything. His job finds out, his family finds out, everyone knows he's a cheater who stole from his wife. The evidence is clear. He has no defense. At 5 Darius called. Trevor wants to talk to you, he said without preamble. Naomi's stomach tightened. No. That's what I told his attorney. But I wanted to give you the message. He's asking for a phone call. Says he needs to explain. There's nothing to explain. I saw the messages. All of them. I know. And I told his attorney that. But Trevor is apparently very upset. He went to Brenda's house looking for you. He did what? Brenda turned him away. Said she didn't know where you were and wouldn't tell him if she did. He's desperate to find you, Naomi. His attorney says he's falling apart. Good, Naomi thought. Let him fall apart. Let him feel what I felt. But she didn't say that. Instead she said, I don't care if he's upset. I don't care if he wants to talk. Tell his attorney that all communication goes through you. If Trevor accepts the separation terms and signs the papers, this can be over quickly. If he doesn't, we go to court and I present all the evidence. His choice. That's what I'll tell them. Thank you, Darius. After she hung up, Naomi sat very still. Trevor had gone to Brenda's house. He was looking for her. He wanted to explain. A week ago, if Trevor had come home and wanted to talk, wanted to explain, she would have listened. She would have hoped. She would have considered forgiveness. But that was before she'd read 8 months of messages. Before she'd seen the photos. Before she'd learned about the hidden money. Before she'd spent 5 days reclaiming her life. Now she didn't want to hear anything he had to say. Paula called that evening. I heard Trevor showed up at your sister's house. You okay? I'm fine. He can show up wherever he wants. He won't find me. Good. Hey, I've been working on our business plan. Want to go over it tomorrow? Yes. Absolutely. They talked about the design firm they were building. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions. Equal partners. Their own clients. Their own success. Talking about the business made Naomi feel powerful. She wasn't just Trevor's abandoned wife. She was a businesswoman. A designer. An entrepreneur. That night, lying in bed in her new apartment, Naomi thought about the letter one more time. She'd said everything she needed to say. Clear, honest, final. She thought about Trevor reading it, maybe multiple times, trying to find some angle, some way to fix things. There was no fixing this. The marriage was over. Had been over for a long time, probably. She'd just been too busy trying to save it to notice it was already dead. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Naomi, please. We need to talk. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Please call me. Trevor. He'd gotten a new number to text her. Or borrowed someone's phone. She blocked the number without responding. 2 minutes later, another text from a different number. It's Trevor. Please don't block me again. I love you. I never stopped loving you. Sienna was a mistake. You're my wife. We can fix this. She blocked that number too. Over the next hour he tried 5 more times, each from a different number. Different phones probably. Friends' phones. Work phones. Desperate measures. Each message was some variation of the same thing. Apologies. Declarations of love. Promises to change. Begging for a chance to explain. Naomi blocked every number and finally turned her phone off entirely. She sat on her balcony in the dark, the park below quiet and peaceful. Somewhere across the city, Trevor was panicking, trying to reach her, realizing what he'd lost. But his panic wasn't her problem anymore. His regret wasn't her burden. His desire to explain wasn't her concern. She'd spent 6 years caring about Trevor's feelings, Trevor's needs, Trevor's happiness. She'd made herself small to fit into his life, to be what he wanted, to not ask for too much. And where had it gotten her? Cheated on. Lied to. Abandoned. Never again. Naomi looked up at the stars, barely visible through Atlanta's light pollution. The night was clear, warm, peaceful. She thought about her grandmother, about the strength Brenda had reminded her she possessed. She thought about the letter she'd left on the counter, the final words to a man who'd promised forever and delivered betrayal. She'd done the right thing. Walking away, taking control, choosing herself. The letter was her goodbye. Her closure. Her final word. And no amount of Trevor's begging would change that. Inside her apartment, her new home, her fresh start, Naomi turned off the lights and went to bed. Tomorrow was day 7. The first day of the rest of her life. And Trevor Bennett would not be in it. Trevor Bennett stood in the middle of his apartment, his suitcase still by the door, staring at empty space where furniture used to be. The blue couch was gone. The bookshelf was gone. The kitchen table was gone. Half the apartment was simply missing. He'd walked in 15 minutes ago, tired from his flight, thinking about his week in New York, his time testing himself to see if he could live without Naomi. The test had failed. Miserably. By day 3 in New York, he'd been miserable. The hotel room felt wrong. The city felt wrong. Everything felt wrong without Naomi in his life, even peripherally. He'd realized, sitting in Central Park watching couples walk by, that he'd made a terrible mistake. Sienna was exciting, yes, but she wasn't home. She wasn't the woman who'd supported his career, who'd made their apartment warm, who'd believed in him even when he didn't believe in himself. He'd decided to come back and end things with Sienna. To confess to Naomi, beg forgiveness, work on their marriage. It would be hard, but they could fix this. They had to. He'd unblocked Naomi's number on the drive from the airport, planning to call her to start the conversation. But now he stood in this half-empty apartment, his brain struggling to process what his eyes were seeing. Her desk was gone. The one by the window where she worked on her designs. Just gone. Empty space and dust patterns on the floor showing where it used to sit. Her chair. Gone. Her bookshelf. Gone. Her grandmother's quilt that always hung over the armchair. Gone. Trevor walked through the apartment in a daze. The bathroom was missing half its contents. Her makeup, her skincare products, her toothbrush. All vanished. The bedroom closet was half empty. Her clothes gone. Her shoes gone. Her side of the closet a hollow space. Her jewelry box from her nightstand. Her books from beside the bed. Her phone charger. All gone. It looked like someone had come through and surgically removed every trace of Naomi Bennett from this space. Trevor's heart started pounding. Where was she? What had happened? He pulled out his phone and called her number. It rang once, then went to a generic voicemail. The number you have reached is not available. Not her voice. A default message. He tried again. Same result. Panic clawed at his throat. He ran to the kitchen looking for some note, some explanation. That's when he saw it. An envelope on the counter. His name written in Naomi's careful handwriting. Beside it, catching the afternoon light, her wedding ring. Trevor picked up the ring first, the small diamond cold in his palm. She'd taken it off. Left it behind like garbage. His hands shook as he opened the envelope and pulled out the letter. He read it once, quickly, the words blurring. Then again, slowly, each sentence a hammer blow. I found the messages on your iPad. All of them. Oh God. Oh no. I know about Sienna Hayes. I know about the money you've been hiding. I know everything. Trevor's legs gave out. He sat hard on the floor, his back against the kitchen cabinets, still holding the letter. She knew. She knew everything. I won't sit around waiting for you to pick me. The words stabbed through him. This isn't about me not being enough. This is about you being dishonest, disloyal, and cruel. Trevor read the entire letter 3 times, his mind reeling. Naomi had found out. While he was in New York, playing his stupid game of testing himself, she'd discovered everything. And she'd left. Not just moved out. Completely disappeared. He looked at the part about the separation papers. About her attorney. About the evidence she had. Screenshots of every message. Every photo. Every conversation. His career flashed before his eyes. If this got out, if his firm found out he'd had an affair, been dishonest, he could lose everything. But worse than that, so much worse, was the realization crashing over him. He'd lost Naomi. Actually lost her. Not in a theoretical, maybe we'll divorce someday way. In a real, concrete, she's gone and she's never coming back way. Trevor scrambled to his feet and tried her number again. Same generic message. He called Brenda. She answered on the 3rd ring. Where is she? Trevor demanded. Where's Naomi? She's safe. That's all you need to know. Brenda, please. I need to talk to her. I need to explain. Explain what, Trevor? That you've been cheating on my sister for 8 months? That you stole money from your joint account? That you went to New York to test whether you wanted to stay married? I made a mistake. I know I did. But I love her. I realized it this week. I came back to fix things. Brenda laughed, a harsh sound. You came back to fix things? Trevor, you blocked your wife's phone number and left her alone for a week. You had an affair. You treated her like trash for months. And now you want to fix things? Where is she? None of your business. I have a right to know where my wife is. Soon-to-be ex-wife. She filed separation papers. Your attorney should have called you by now. Sign them, Trevor. Let her go. It's over. It's not over. We can work through this. No, you can't. She doesn't want to work through this. She wants out. Respect that. Respect her. For once in your life, put her needs before your own. Brenda hung up. Trevor stood in his empty apartment, the letter still in his hand, and felt his world crumbling. He'd been so stupid. So incredibly stupid. Sienna had been exciting because she was new, because their relationship had no responsibilities, no routine, no real life attached to it. Of course it felt thrilling. It was an escape. But Naomi? Naomi was real. Naomi was home. Naomi was the woman who'd stood by him for 6 years, who'd built a life with him, who'd loved him even when he was being distant and cruel. And he'd thrown it all away for what? For excitement? For ego? Because he was bored? His phone rang. His attorney. Trevor, we need to talk. Your wife's attorney filed separation papers this morning. There are some serious allegations here. Trevor spent the next 30 minutes on the phone, learning about evidence, about adultery laws in Georgia, about how badly this could go for him if he fought it. My advice? Accept the terms. She's being generous, honestly. She's not asking for spousal support. She's splitting assets fairly. She could bury you with this evidence, but she's not. Sign the papers, Trevor. Move on. After hanging up, Trevor walked through the apartment again, seeing the empty spaces with new eyes. She'd taken everything that mattered to her and left everything that didn't. The apartment was functional but hollow, like a stage set instead of a home. He sat on the floor in the living room where the blue couch used to be, and finally let himself break down. He'd lost her. Through his own selfishness, his own cowardice, his own greed for something more exciting, he'd lost the best thing in his life. And the worst part? He had no one to blame but himself. The messages on his iPad. He'd been so careful with his phone, but he'd forgotten about the tablet. Such a stupid mistake. But no, the real mistake wasn't forgetting to hide evidence. The real mistake was having an affair in the first place. Was treating Naomi like she didn't matter. Was taking her for granted. Trevor pulled out his phone and opened his contacts. He scrolled to Sienna's name, stared at it for a long moment. Then he deleted it. Whatever he'd thought he had with Sienna, it was worthless compared to what he'd destroyed with Naomi. He tried calling Naomi from different numbers, borrowing phones from friends, from coworkers. Each text went undelivered. Each call went nowhere. She'd truly disappeared. Over the next 3 days, Trevor fell apart. He called in sick to work. He barely ate. He sat in the half-empty apartment and replayed every moment of his marriage, seeing clearly now how he'd failed. All those times Naomi had tried to connect and he'd pushed her away. All those dinners she'd made and he'd come home late. All those conversations where she'd asked about his day and he'd been dismissive. She'd been trying. She'd been fighting for their marriage while he was busy destroying it. He hired a private investigator, desperate to find her. It took 2 days, but the investigator found her new address. Trevor drove there immediately, parking outside her building, staring up at the windows. Which one was hers? Was she home? Was she happy? He sat in his car for an hour, working up the courage to go inside. Finally, he walked into the building. Found her apartment number on the directory. Took the elevator up. He knocked on her door. Waited. Knocked again. Nothing. He knocked a 3rd time, harder. Naomi? Please. I know you're in there. We need to talk. The door opened, but it wasn't Naomi. It was a man. Mid-30s, well-dressed, looking at Trevor with barely concealed disgust. Who are you? Trevor demanded. Darius Cole. Naomi's attorney. She's not here, and even if she were, she wouldn't talk to you. I need to see her. No, you don't. What you need to do is sign the separation papers and leave her alone. She's made her choice, Trevor. She's done with you. I love her. Darius stepped out into the hallway, closing the door behind him. You love her? You had an 8-month affair, planned to leave her, stole money from joint accounts, and blocked her phone number while you went on vacation to test yourself. That's not love, Trevor. That's cruelty. I made mistakes. I want to fix them. Too late. She's moved on. She has a new apartment, a new life, a new phone number. She's building a business, surrounding herself with people who actually care about her. She's happy, Trevor. For the first time in months, she's happy. And you will not ruin that by showing up here and making demands. I just want to talk to her. 5 minutes. She doesn't want to talk to you. Accept that. Sign the papers. Move on with your life. Let her move on with hers. Trevor looked at this man, this attorney who was protecting Naomi from him. The way Trevor should have protected her. The way a real husband would have. Is she okay? He asked quietly. She's better than okay. She's free. The word hit Trevor like a punch. Free. As in free from him. Darius went back inside and closed the door, leaving Trevor standing in the hallway alone. He stood there for a long time, then finally walked back to his car. On the drive home, Trevor called his attorney. Send me the papers, he said. I'll sign them. You're sure? Yes, I'm sure. Give her whatever she wants. I'm not fighting this. That night, in his empty apartment, Trevor signed the separation papers. Every page. Every clause. Agreeing to everything. He'd lost Naomi. Through his own actions, his own choices, his own failure to appreciate what he had, he'd lost her completely. and there was nothing he could do to get her back. Week 1 after the return. Naomi Bennett sat in a bright conference room across from a potential client, her portfolio open on the table between them. The client, a woman in her 50s who owned a chain of bakeries, flipped through Naomi's designs with growing enthusiasm. "These are wonderful," the woman said. "Exactly the fresh modern look we need. When can you start?" "Immediately," Naomi replied with a smile. "My partner Paula and I can have initial concepts to you by next week." They shook hands, and as Naomi walked out of the building into the Atlanta sunshine, she felt a surge of satisfaction. That was their third client this week. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions was actually happening. Her phone buzzed. Paula's text. "Did we get it?" Naomi called her. "We got it." She loved everything. Paula screamed with joy on the other end. "We're doing it. We're actually building this business." "We are." That evening, Naomi worked late at her home office, her desk positioned by the window where she could see the park below. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and orange, and she realized she hadn't thought about Trevor all day. Progress. Week 2. The divorce papers came through. Darius called with the news. Trevor signed everything. No contest. "You're officially divorced as of this morning." Naomi sat down on her couch, the news washing over her. "Divorced? Officially? Finally." "That was fast," she said. "When there's documented adultery and both parties want it over, the process moves quickly. How are you feeling?" "Relief. Mostly relief." That night, Brenda came over with champagne and Chinese food. They sat on Naomi's balcony, celebrating her freedom. "To new beginnings," Brenda toasted. "To choosing myself," Naomi responded. They clinked glasses under the stars. Week 3. Naomi started therapy. Her therapist, Dr. Kim, was a warm woman in her 60s who listened without judgment as Naomi unpacked 6 years of marriage and 8 months of betrayal. "You're grieving," Dr. Kim explained. "Not just the relationship but the future you'd imagined. That's normal. Let yourself feel it. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Some days I'm fine. Is that normal too?" "Absolutely. Healing isn't linear." Naomi appreciated the validation. She'd been feeling guilty about the days when she missed Trevor, when she remembered the good times and wondered if she'd given up too easily. "You didn't give up," Dr. Kim reminded her. "He gave up. He gave up every day for 8 months when he chose someone else. You just made the decision official." Week 4. Naomi ran into someone from her old life. A couple she and Trevor used to have dinner with occasionally. The woman, Michelle, spotted Naomi at a coffee shop and came over. "Naomi. Hi. How are you? We haven't seen you and Trevor in forever." Naomi took a breath. "Trevor and I are divorced, actually. It's been about a month now." Michelle's face fell. "Oh no. I'm so sorry. What happened?" "It just didn't work out." Naomi didn't elaborate. She didn't owe anyone the details of her pain. Michelle sensed her reluctance and changed the subject, and they chatted briefly about work before parting ways. Walking home, Naomi felt proud of herself. She'd handled that gracefully. No drama. No oversharing. Just simple honesty. Week 5. The nightmare started. Dreams where Trevor came back begging forgiveness. Dreams where she took him back and then discovered he was still cheating. Dreams where she was stuck in the old apartment, unable to leave, watching her life disappear piece by piece. She woke up gasping, her heart racing, her sheets tangled around her legs. "Just dreams," she whispered to herself in the dark. "Just processing. Just healing." But they scared her. They made her wonder if she'd ever fully get over this. Dr. Kim reassured her. "Your subconscious is working through trauma. The nightmares will fade as you heal. Give yourself time." Week 6. Paula suggested they celebrate their growing client list by going out. Dancing. Drinks. Fun. "You've been working non-stop. You deserve a break." Naomi hesitated. She hadn't been to a club or bar since before the divorce. The thought of being in a social setting felt overwhelming. But Paula was persistent. "Come on. Just a few hours. We'll have fun, I promise." So Naomi found herself at a nice bar downtown, wearing a red dress she'd bought specifically for this night. New dress, new life. The music was loud, the crowd energetic. Paula dragged her onto the dance floor, and despite herself, Naomi started having fun. Moving to the music, laughing with her best friend, feeling young and free and alive. A man asked her to dance. Nice-looking, polite smile. She almost said no, but Paula nodded encouragingly, so she said yes. They danced for one song. He was respectful, friendly. When it ended, he asked for her number. I'm not really dating right now, Naomi said honestly. Recent divorce. I understand. Well, if you change your mind. He handed her his card. Later, driving home, Naomi looked at the card. Part of her wanted to throw it away. But another part, a growing part, tucked it into her purse. Maybe not now. But someday. Someday she'd be ready. Week 8. Naomi stood in her office, surrounded by sketches and designs, and realized with sudden clarity, she was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions had 6 steady clients now. They'd rented a small office space downtown, bright and modern with large windows. They'd hired an intern to help with administrative work. Naomi's bank account was healthy. Her apartment felt like home. She'd decorated it with bright colors and her own artwork. She'd bought new furniture, including a green armchair she absolutely loved. She looked different too. She'd lost weight from stress initially, but now she was eating well, working out, taking care of herself. Her natural curls were healthier. Her skin glowed. She wore bright colors, reds, blues, greens, maroons. Colors that made her feel alive. And she smiled. Real smiles. Often. Week 10. Darius cold called. I'm handling a case near your office. Want to grab coffee after? They met at a cafe, sitting outside in the warm afternoon sun. Darius ordered a latte. Naomi got an iced coffee. How are you doing? He asked. Really doing? Good. Really good actually. The business is growing. I'm happy. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. They talked for over an hour. About work, about life, about everything. Naomi found herself laughing at his stories, enjoying his company in a way that felt easy and natural. As they were leaving, Darius said, We should do this again. If you want. I'd like that. Walking back to her office, Naomi realized she'd just agreed to, what? A date? A friendship? She wasn't sure, and surprisingly she was okay with not knowing. Week 12. 3 months post-divorce. Naomi received an unexpected email. From Trevor. Subject line, Please read this. She stared at it for a long moment, her finger hovering over the delete button. Finally she opened it. Naomi, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to contact you. But I need you to know something. You were right. About everything. I was selfish, cruel, dishonest. I took you for granted. I treated our marriage like it meant nothing when it meant everything. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. I'm not asking for another chance. I know that's impossible. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. Deeply, truly sorry. And I want you to know that losing you was the worst mistake of my life. I hope you're happy. I hope you're finding everything you deserve. You were always too good for me. I just wish I'd realized it before I destroyed us. I won't contact you again. This is goodbye. Trevor. Naomi read it twice. Felt. Nothing. No anger. No sadness. No satisfaction. Just a distant acknowledgement that this man had been part of her life, and now he wasn't. She deleted the email without responding. Then she closed her laptop and went to her living room, where sunlight streamed through the windows. She put on music, pulled out her sketchpad, and got lost in creating something beautiful. Trevor's apology didn't matter. His regret didn't matter. He was her past, and she was busy building her future. Week 16. 4 months post-divorce. Naomi had dinner with Darius. Not at a casual cafe this time, but at a nice restaurant. He wore a suit. She wore a blue dress. Felt like a date. Maybe it was a date. I've been wanting to tell you something, Darius said over dessert. I've always admired you. Even in college I thought you were incredible. Talented, kind, strong. When you reached out about the divorce, I was honored you trusted me. You helped save me, Naomi said honestly. You gave me the tools to take control of my life. You saved yourself. I just provided legal guidance. You did all the hard work. They walked through the city after dinner, talking easily, laughing often. When they reached her building, Darius hesitated. Can I take you out again? Officially? As a date, I mean. Naomi surprised herself by saying yes without hesitation. But she added, slow though. I'm still healing. I'm not ready for anything serious. Slow is perfect. I'm in no rush. I just want to spend time with you. That night, lying in bed, Naomi thought about Trevor's email from weeks ago. His apology. His regret. She thought about how for months ago she'd been crying on her couch, heartbroken and lost. And now she had a successful business, a beautiful home, real friends who supported her, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something new with someone who actually valued her. She'd survived. More than that, she was thriving. The aftermath of betrayal hadn't destroyed her. It had revealed her strength, her resilience, her capacity to choose herself. And that, Naomi thought as she drifted off to sleep, was worth more than any marriage that required her to be small. 6 months after the divorce, Naomi Bennett woke up in her sun-filled bedroom and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd thought about Trevor. Not in a conscious way, at least. He'd become background noise in her mind, a chapter that was finished and filed away. She stretched, the morning light painting everything golden, and smiled. Today was important. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions was presenting to their biggest potential client yet, a tech startup looking for complete brand redesign. Naomi got out of bed and walked to her closet. She'd bought new clothes over the past months, building a wardrobe that reflected who she was becoming. Bright colors, confident styles. She pulled out a maroon blazer and matching pants, paired with a crisp white shirt. Professional. Powerful. Herself. Her phone buzzed while she was making coffee. Paula's text. Ready to crush this presentation? Naomi smiled and replied, born ready. The presentation was at 10. Naomi and Paula arrived 30 minutes early to set up, arranging their portfolio pieces on the conference room table. They'd worked on this pitch for 2 weeks, refining every detail. When the client team arrived, Naomi felt none of the nervousness she might have expected. She was confident. She knew their work was excellent. She knew what she was worth. Paula handled the introduction, and then Naomi walked them through the design concepts. She spoke clearly, passionately, about color theory and brand identity and market positioning. The clients were impressed. She could see it in their faces, the way they leaned forward, asked questions, exchanged glances. At the end, the CEO said, "When can you start?" Paula and Naomi exchanged a look of triumph. 2 weeks for initial concepts, Naomi replied. Full implementation in 3 months. They shook hands, signed a contract, and walked out of that building with their biggest deal yet. In the parking lot, Paula grabbed Naomi and hugged her tight. "We did it. We actually did it. We're really building something," Naomi said, her voice full of wonder. That afternoon, they celebrated at their office. The intern, a college student named Jordan who was brilliant with social media, had decorated with balloons and ordered cupcakes. To Bennett Rodriguez, Jordan toasted with a can of soda. "Best bosses ever." Naomi laughed. Best bosses. She liked the sound of that. Later that evening, she had plans with Darius. They'd been seeing each other for 2 months now, taking things slow, careful. He'd been patient, never pushing, always respectful of her healing process. They met at a small Italian restaurant, cozy and warm. Darius stood when she arrived, kissed her cheek, pulled out her chair. "Big day?" he asked, noticing her glowing expression. "Huge day. We landed the tech startup." "Naomi, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you." They ordered dinner and wine, talking easily about their days. Darius told her about a case he'd won, and Naomi shared details about the new client. Halfway through dinner, Darius reached across the table and took her hand. "I need to tell you something," he said. Naomi's stomach tightened. Was this the part where he said he wanted more than she could give? Where he got tired of slow? "I care about you," Darius continued. "A lot. And I know we're taking things slowly, which I respect completely. But I want you to know that I'm all in. Whenever you're ready, however much you can give, I'm here. No pressure. No expectations. Just here." Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. Good tears. Relief tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "For being patient. For understanding. You're worth the wait." They finished dinner and walked through a nearby park, the evening air cool and pleasant. Naomi felt comfortable with him, safe. It was different from what she'd had with Trevor. This felt like partnership, like equality, like someone actually seeing her. "Can I ask you something?" Darius said as they sat on a bench overlooking a pond. "Of course. Do you ever regret it? Leaving the way you did? Disappearing without giving him a chance to explain?" Naomi thought about it carefully. "No, I don't regret it. If I'd stayed, if I'd listened to his explanations and excuses, I might have believed them. I might have convinced myself to give him another chance. And then what? Live in constant suspicion? Wonder every time he worked late? Check his phone? That's not a life. That's not love." "You're right. Besides, there was nothing to explain. I read the messages. All 8 months of them. I saw the photos. I knew about the money. What could he possibly say that would change any of that?" "Nothing," Darius agreed. "You made the right choice. You saved yourself." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the pond reflect the evening light. Tell me about your business plans, Darius said. Where do you see Bennett Rodriguez in a year? 5 years. Naomi's face lit up. This was her favorite topic. In a year, I want to have 10 solid clients and maybe hire another designer. In 5 years, I want us to be the go-to design firm in Atlanta. I want to expand, maybe open a second office. I want to mentor young designers, give them opportunities. You'll do it? I have no doubt. Walking back to her car later, Darius kissed her goodnight. Soft, gentle, respectful. Not demanding more than she was ready to give. Driving home, Naomi thought about how different this felt from her marriage. With Trevor, especially toward the end, she'd always been trying to figure out what he wanted, how to make him happy, what she could do to keep his attention. With Darius, she just got to be herself. Her ambitions, her goals, her pace. And he celebrated it all. Week 20. 5 months post-divorce. Naomi bought a house. It wasn't huge. Just a small 2-bedroom with a yard and a garden space. But it was hers. Completely hers. She'd saved money from the business, gotten a mortgage in her name alone, picked every detail herself. Brenda helped her move in along with Paula and Jordan and even Darius. They carried furniture, hung artwork, arranged rooms. Naomi's bedroom had cream walls she planned to paint blue. The second bedroom became her home office. The living room had large windows that let in beautiful natural light. It's perfect, Brenda said, looking around the empty living room. New house for your new life. That night, after everyone left, Naomi sat on her new back porch, looking at the small yard. She imagined planting flowers in the spring. Maybe tomatoes. Maybe herbs. This was hers. Her home. Her sanctuary. No shared space. No compromises. No lies hiding in corners. Week 24. 6 months exactly since Trevor had left for New York. Naomi marked the day privately. Not with celebration or sadness, just acknowledgement. 6 months ago, her world had collapsed. Today, she was stronger than she'd ever been. She met Dr. Kim for their weekly session. How are you feeling about the 6-month mark? Dr. Kim asked. Good. Really good. I keep waiting for some wave of sadness or anger, but it's not coming. I just feel free. That's healthy. You've done the work to process the grief and betrayal. You're moving forward genuinely, not just avoiding feelings. I still have nightmares sometimes. That's normal. Trauma takes time to fully heal. But you notice they're less frequent now? Naomi did notice. The nightmares that had been nightly at first now happened maybe once every 2 weeks. And they were less intense, less frightening. I'm proud of you, Dr. Kim said. You could have let this break you. Instead, you used it to build something better. Week 26. Naomi received a wedding invitation in the mail. A former colleague was getting married, and apparently Naomi was still on the invitation list from the joint invitations she and Trevor used to receive. The invitation said, Naomi Bennett and guest. She stared at it for a long moment. A wedding. Social event. People who knew her as Trevor's wife asking questions about the divorce. But then she thought, screw it. She had a life now. A successful business. A beautiful home. Someone who cared about her. She called Darius. Want to be my +1 to a wedding next month? I'd love to. The wedding was beautiful. Held in a garden, everything decorated in soft pastels and white. Naomi wore a green dress, new and beautiful, with heels that made her feel tall and confident. Darius wore a sharp gray suit and stayed by her side all evening, his hand on the small of her back, reassuring and warm. People did ask about Trevor. Where's your husband? Naomi answered simply each time, we're divorced. This is Darius. She introduced him as her boyfriend the first time she'd used that word. It felt right. No one pressed for details. A few people expressed condolences, but mostly they just moved on to other topics. Dancing with Darius that evening, slow and close, Naomi realized she wasn't pretending to be over Trevor. She actually was over him. The healing was real. Week 30. 7 months post-divorce. Nearly 8. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions hired their second full-time employee, a recent graduate named Riley with incredible illustration skills. The office was busier now, full of energy and creativity. Naomi loved coming to work, collaborating with Paula, mentoring Jordan and Riley. She designed the office space herself. Bright colors on the walls, comfortable furniture, large windows, plants everywhere. It reflected everything she valued: light, growth, creativity, collaboration. One afternoon, Paula caught Naomi smiling at nothing while working on a design. What are you thinking about? Paula asked. Just how different life is now. How happy I am. You deserve it. You really do. So do you? Thank you for doing this with me. Building this business. Are you kidding? This is my dream too. We're building our empire one logo at a time. They laughed together, and Naomi felt overwhelming gratitude for this friendship, this partnership, this new life. Week 32. 8 months post-divorce. Naomi stood in her garden, wearing old jeans and a red t-shirt, dirt under her fingernails, planting tomato seedlings. The Atlanta sun was warm on her back. Birds sang in nearby trees. Her small house sat behind her, windows open, music drifting out. She'd planted flowers along the fence, bright yellows and purples and pinks. The garden was taking shape, becoming something beautiful through her care and attention. Darius arrived with lunch, and they ate on her back porch, talking about nothing important, just enjoying each other's company. "I love seeing you like this," Darius said. "Relaxed. Happy. This is who you're meant to be. I feel like myself again. Actually, I feel like a better version of myself. Stronger. Clearer about what I want." "And what do you want?" Naomi looked around at her garden, her house, at Darius sitting beside her. "This. Exactly this. My own success. My own space. People who value me. Honest relationships. Simple happiness." Darius kissed her forehead. "You've got it." That evening, after Darius left, Naomi walked through her house. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen, a cozy living room. Every piece of furniture she'd chosen. Every decoration reflected her taste. Every corner was hers. No wedding photos on the walls. No reminders of broken promises. Just her art, her life, her choices. She stood in her bedroom, looking at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was different from the one who discovered those messages 8 months ago. This woman wore bright colors. This woman smiled genuinely. This woman knew her worth. This woman had built a business, bought a house, planted a garden, opened her heart carefully to someone new. This woman had survived betrayal and come out stronger. Naomi touched her reflection in the mirror, a promise to herself. Never again would she make herself small for someone else. Never again would she beg for crumbs. Never again would she accept less than she deserved. She'd rebuilt herself from nothing into something solid and real and beautiful. And she'd done it on her own terms, in her own time, in her own way. The rebuilding was complete. Now it was time to truly live. 8 months and 2 weeks post-divorce. Naomi was at her office, reviewing designs with Riley, when her phone rang. A known number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. "Hello? Naomi Bennett?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. "Yes, this is she. My name is Jennifer Santos. I'm a reporter for Atlanta Magazine. I'm working on a feature about successful women entrepreneurs, and your name came up multiple times. Would you be willing to talk to me about Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions?" Naomi's heart skipped. "A magazine feature?" "Yes. We're highlighting women who've built thriving businesses. Your story is impressive. I'd love to interview you and Paula if you're interested." They scheduled an interview for the following week. Naomi immediately called Paula, who screamed with excitement. "A magazine feature? Naomi, this is huge for the business." The interview took place at their office. Jennifer Santos was a woman in her 30s, sharp and friendly, with a notebook and recorder. She asked about their background, their business philosophy, their goals. Naomi and Paula talked enthusiastically about their work, their clients, their vision for the future. Near the end, Jennifer asked, "What inspired you to start the business? What was the catalyst?" Naomi paused. She hadn't talked publicly about the divorce, about the real reason she'd needed a fresh start. But she also believed in honesty. And maybe her story could help someone else. "I went through a difficult divorce," Naomi said carefully. "My marriage ended suddenly and I needed to rebuild my life. Starting this business with Paula was part of that rebuilding. It gave me purpose, identity separate from being someone's wife." Jennifer's expression was sympathetic. "That's incredibly brave. Going through something painful and turning it into something positive." "I had help. My sister, my best friend Paula, my attorney who became a good friend. They reminded me who I was when I'd forgotten." The article came out 3 weeks later. 2 full pages with photos of Naomi and Paula in their office, surrounded by their designs. The headline read, "Building Success from Scratch, How 2 Women Created Atlanta's Hottest Design Firm." The article was wonderful, highlighting their work, their creativity, their business acumen. It mentioned Naomi's divorce briefly, framing it as part of her journey to success. The response was immediate. Their email inbox flooded with inquiries. Potential clients. Women sharing their own divorce stories. people wanting to work with them. Within a week, they had 6 new client consultations scheduled. We're going to need to expand, Paula said, looking at the calendar. We can't handle all this with just us and Riley and Jordan. Then we expand, Naomi said with growing excitement. We hire more people. We get a bigger office. We grow. But success brought an unexpected complication. The magazine had used Naomi's full name, which meant Trevor could find the article. And apparently he did. She arrived at her office one morning to find him standing outside the building. Naomi froze. She hadn't seen Trevor in 8 months. He looked different. Thinner. Tired. His hair was longer, a bit unkempt. He wore jeans and a blue shirt, hands in his pockets, looking nervous. Naomi, he said. Please. Just 5 minutes. No. She moved toward the building entrance. He stepped in her path. Not threatening, just desperate. Please. I saw the article. I'm so proud of you. What you've built. I just need to talk to you. Get out of my way, Trevor. I made a terrible mistake. I know that now. I've known it for months. Sienna and I, it didn't last even a month after you left. She wasn't what I wanted. You were what I wanted. I was just too stupid to see it. Naomi felt anger rising. You had 8 months to see it. 8 months while you were sleeping with her, planning to leave me, stealing money from me. But sure, now you see it. How convenient. I was lost. I was having some kind of crisis. I don't know what I was thinking. You were thinking you wanted something more exciting. You were thinking I was boring and plain and too simple. You said all of that to her. I read it. Trevor winced. I was lying to myself, trying to justify what I was doing. None of it was true. It doesn't matter if it was true or not. You believed it enough to act on it. That's what matters. Can we please talk? Really talk? Maybe get coffee? No. Naomi, I love you. You don't love me. You love the idea of me. You love what you lost. That's not the same thing. Trevor's voice cracked. I can't sleep. I can't focus. Everything reminds me of you. I drive past places we went together and I can barely breathe. I see you in this article, successful and beautiful and happy, and I realize I destroyed the best thing in my life. People were starting to notice them on the sidewalk. Naomi saw Paula arriving, her face stormy when she spotted Trevor. You need to leave, Naomi said firmly. Right now. Or I'll call the police. Just tell me one thing. Is there any chance? Any possibility that someday you might forgive me? Naomi looked at him, this man who'd been her husband for 6 years. This man who'd blocked her number and gone to New York to test whether he wanted her. This man who'd betrayed her in every way possible. She felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No love. Nothing. Trevor, I forgave you months ago. Not for you. For me. So I could move on without carrying bitterness. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. We're done. We've been done. Accept it. There's someone else, isn't there? That guy in the article. Darius Cole. Your attorney. That's none of your business. He's why you won't give me another chance. No, Trevor. You're why I won't give you another chance. You destroyed what we had. You don't get to rebuild it. That's not how this works. Paula reached them, put her arm around Naomi protectively. She asked you to leave. So leave. Or I'm calling the cops. Trevor looked between them, finally realizing he had no power here. No leverage. No chance. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I know, Naomi replied. But sorry doesn't fix this. Goodbye, Trevor. She walked into the building with Paula, not looking back. Inside, safe in their office, Naomi's hands shook. She sat down hard in her chair, breathing deeply. Are you okay? Paula asked, kneeling beside her. I'm fine. I wasn't expecting to see him. What he said about you being boring and plain, you know that's garbage, right? You're incredible. I know. I finally know that. His opinion doesn't matter anymore. But seeing Trevor had stirred something. Not regret. Not longing. Something else. That evening, Naomi sat on her back porch with Darius, telling him about the encounter. How do you feel? Darius asked. Honestly? Relieved. I saw him and felt nothing. No desire to go back, no what-ifs, no second thoughts. Just nothing. He's a stranger to me now. That's healthy. He asked if there was any chance I'd forgive him. I told him I already had, but that forgiveness doesn't mean getting back together. That was very mature of you. Naomi looked at Darius, this man who'd been patient and kind, who'd supported her rebuilding without trying to rush or fix or control. I need to tell you something, she said. Okay. I'm ready. For this. For us. I'm not scared anymore. I'm not broken anymore. I'm just me. And I'm ready to really be with you. Darius smiled, reached for her hand. I've been ready since the day we had coffee 6 months ago. I'm just glad you're here now. They sat together as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Naomi's garden stretched before them, flowers blooming, tomatoes growing, everything alive and thriving. She thought about Trevor standing outside her office, begging for another chance. She thought about the woman she'd been 8 months ago, crying on the couch, holding a failed text message. That woman was gone. Replaced by someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who wouldn't settle for crumbs when she deserved the whole feast. Thank you, Naomi said to Darius. For what? For waiting. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. For being honest and patient and real. You're worth all of that and more. That night, Naomi updated her journal, something Dr. Kim had encouraged her to do during therapy. She wrote about seeing Trevor. About feeling nothing. About realizing, truly realizing, that she was completely over him. She wrote about her business, her house, her garden, her new relationship. She wrote, I thought I needed revenge. I thought disappearing and succeeding would be about showing Trevor what he lost. But it was never about him. It was about me. About finding myself again. About choosing myself. The success, the happiness, the peace. That's not revenge. That's just life. My life. Finally living it on my own terms. She closed the journal and looked around her bedroom. Blue walls. Art she'd created. Furniture she'd chosen. Everything bright and beautiful and hers. The truth had been revealed today. She didn't need Trevor to realize his mistake. She didn't need him to regret losing her. She didn't need him at all. She was complete on her own. And that completion allowed her to open up to Darius, to their relationship, not because she needed him to fill a void, but because she wanted him to share her fullness. That was the difference. That was everything. 1 year after Trevor's vacation to New York, Naomi Bennett stood in her garden on a perfect Saturday morning, wearing jean shorts and a red tank top, her curly hair piled on top of her head, dirt under her fingernails from planting new flowers. The garden had transformed over the past months. What started as a small project had become her sanctuary. Roses climbed the fence. Tomatoes hung heavy on their vines. Herbs grew in neat rows. Sunflowers reached toward the sky, bright and cheerful. Everything was alive. Thriving. Beautiful. Just like her. Beautiful morning, Darius said, bringing her coffee from the kitchen. He'd started staying over on weekends, his toothbrush now in her bathroom, his presence comfortable and easy. Perfect morning, Naomi agreed, accepting the cup with a kiss. They sat on the back porch, watching birds flit through the garden, the sun warming everything in its path. You ready for tonight? Darius asked. Tonight was the gallery showing. Naomi had been working on a personal art project for months, graphic design pieces that told stories about resilience, rebirth, growth. The gallery downtown had offered to display her work, and tonight was the opening reception. Nervous but excited, Naomi admitted. You should be excited. Your art is incredible. Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions now had 8 employees and had moved into a larger office space last month. The new space had floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, and a conference room that impressed clients. Paula had designed business cards with their new tagline, Designing Your Vision, Building Your Brand. They'd been featured in 2 more magazines. They'd won a design award. They'd built something real and successful. But the gallery showing was different. This was Naomi's personal work. Her story. Her heart on display. That afternoon, Naomi got ready carefully. She chose a blue dress, sleeveless and elegant, that hit just below her knees. Simple but beautiful. She wore minimal jewelry, small gold earrings, a delicate necklace. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman from a year ago. That woman had been broken, lost, desperate for someone else to validate her worth. This woman knew her worth. Radiated it. Owned it completely. The gallery showing started at 7. Naomi arrived early to check the setup. Her art hung on pristine white walls, spotlights highlighting each piece. Digital prints of her graphic designs, each one telling a story about transformation. One series showed a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis, rendered in bold maroons and golds. The caption read, Metamorphosis, sometimes you have to break down to break through. Another series depicted a phoenix, abstract and modern, in brilliant reds and oranges. The caption, Rising, what doesn't kill you makes you more yourself. A third series showed a garden growing through cracked pavement, greens and purples and blues. The caption, "Blooming, beauty finds a way even in broken places." People started arriving. Friends, clients, strangers who'd heard about the show. Paula came with her girlfriend. Brenda brought her husband and kids. Jordan and Riley from the office. Dr. Kim. Other designers Naomi had networked with over the year. And Darius, of course, staying close but not hovering, letting her shine. A woman approached Naomi, middle-aged with kind eyes. "These pieces are beautiful. The butterfly series especially. It speaks to me." "Thank you. They're about personal transformation." "I can feel that. I went through a divorce 2 years ago. Your art captures that process of becoming someone new." They talked for a while and the woman ended up buying 2 prints. Similar conversations happened all evening. People connecting with the art, sharing their own stories of resilience, of rebuilding, of finding themselves after loss. Naomi realized her story wasn't unique. So many people had experienced betrayal, heartbreak, the destruction of what they thought was forever. But they'd survived. They'd rebuilt. They'd grown. Near the end of the evening, a journalist from the Atlanta Arts Review approached. "I'd love to interview you about this collection. About the inspiration behind it." "I'd be happy to talk." The journalist, a woman named Amanda, pulled out her notebook. "Your work has a clear theme of transformation and growth. What inspired this particular series?" Naomi took a breath. "A year ago my marriage ended suddenly. I discovered my husband had been having an affair for 8 months. He'd gone on a solo vacation and blocked my phone number, leaving me alone while he decided if he wanted to stay married. While he was gone I found out everything. And I made a choice. I wasn't going to wait for him to decide my fate. I disappeared before he came back. I rebuilt my life completely. This art series is about that journey." Amanda wrote quickly. "That's powerful. And clearly you've not just survived but thrived. The business, the art, this showing. How did you do it?" "I had help. My sister Brenda reminded me of my strength. My best friend Paula partnered with me in business. My attorney Darius became a true friend. My therapist Dr. Kim helped me process the trauma. But ultimately I had to choose myself. Every day I had to wake up and choose to move forward. Some days were harder than others. But I kept choosing me." "And the ex-husband? Is he part of your life at all?" "No. He tried to reconcile several months ago, but I'd already moved on. Completely. He's not a villain in my story. He's just not in my story anymore. The story is about me, not about him or what he did. It's about what I built from the ashes." Amanda smiled. "That's a beautiful perspective. Thank you for sharing." After the journalist left, Darius came over, put his arm around Naomi's waist. "You were brilliant. Honest and powerful and graceful. I meant every word." As the gallery cleared out, Naomi walked through the space one more time, looking at her art on the walls. Pieces of her journey, her pain, her growth, displayed for the world to see. She'd sold 7 pieces tonight. 7 people connected enough with her story to take it home with them. But more than that, she'd reclaimed her narrative. She wasn't Trevor's ex-wife. She wasn't a victim of betrayal. She was Naomi Bennett, artist, entrepreneur, survivor, warrior. Later that night, back at her house, sitting on the back porch with Darius under a sky full of stars, Naomi reflected on the past year. 12 months ago, Trevor had blocked her number and gone to New York. He'd thought he was the one making decisions about their future. Instead, she'd made the decision. She'd chosen to leave first, to disappear completely, to build a life so full and rich that his absence didn't leave a hole, it left space for something better. "What are you thinking about?" Darius asked, noticing her quiet smile. "Just how different everything is now. A year ago I was falling apart. Today I have everything I never knew I wanted. You built it yourself. With help from people who actually cared about me." She squeezed his hand. "Thank you for being one of those people. Always." They sat in comfortable silence, the garden around them a testament to what patience and care could create. The flowers bloomed in the moonlight. The tomato vines swayed gently in the breeze. Everything growing, everything alive. 2 weeks later, Naomi received the interview from Atlanta Arts Review in her email. The headline read, "From Heartbreak to Hope, How One Artist Transformed Pain into Purpose." The article was beautiful, telling her story with sensitivity and strength. It quoted her extensively and the photos of her art were stunning. Paula called immediately. "This is going viral on social media. People are sharing it everywhere. The business email is exploding." "Good exploding or bad exploding?" "Amazing exploding." So many people connecting with your story. We're getting inquiries from all over the state. Naomi, this is going to take us to the next level. And it did. Within a month, Bennett Rodriguez Creative Solutions had a waiting list for new clients. They hired 3 more designers. They started planning for a second office in Savannah. Naomi's art prints sold out online. The gallery ordered more. A corporate office wanted to commission a series for their headquarters. Success built on top of success. But more than the professional wins, Naomi felt at peace. Truly deeply at peace. She'd stopped having nightmares months ago. Stopped jumping when she saw tall men with Trevor's build. Stopped wondering what might have been if things had gone differently. She looked forward now, not back. 6 months after the gallery showing, Darius and Naomi took a trip together. They flew to Jamaica, the same island where Naomi and Trevor had honeymooned years ago. Naomi had hesitated when Darius suggested it, worried about ghosts and memories. But then she'd realized, she wasn't that person anymore. Jamaica was just an island. Beautiful. Tropical. Perfect for vacation. She wouldn't let Trevor's memory ruin something beautiful. They stayed at a different resort on a different beach. They swam in clear blue water. They ate fresh seafood. They watched the sun set over the ocean, painting everything in brilliant golds and oranges and pinks. One evening, walking along the beach, Darius stopped and took both her hands. Naomi, I need to say something. Her heart skipped. His tone was serious, nervous. I love you. I've loved you for months, but I wanted to wait until I knew you were ready to hear it. You're the strongest, most incredible woman I've ever met. You've taught me about resilience, about choosing yourself, about real strength. And I want to spend my life supporting your dreams, celebrating your success, being your partner. Not because you need me, but because we're better together. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. Good tears. Happy tears. I love you too, she said. And you're right. We are better together. He kissed her then, soft and sweet, the ocean waves washing over their feet. I'm not asking for forever yet, Darius said. I just needed you to know how I feel. Thank you for not rushing me. For letting me heal in my own time. You're worth the wait. You'll always be worth the wait. They walked back to their hotel hand in hand, the Caribbean night warm and perfect around them. Naomi thought about forever, about vows, about promises. She wasn't afraid of them anymore. But she was wiser now, more careful. She knew that words were easy. Actions mattered. Consistency mattered. Honesty mattered. And Darius had shown her all of that, day after day, month after month. Maybe someday there would be another wedding. Another set of vows. Another chance at forever. But she wasn't in a hurry. She was happy right now, in this moment, with this man, in this beautiful place. She was free. She was whole. She was loved in a real, honest, respectful way. And she was herself. Fully, completely, unapologetically herself. 1 year and 8 months after Trevor's vacation, Naomi stood in her garden, now fully mature and bursting with life. Roses in every color. Vegetables ready for harvest. Herbs fragrant in the sun. She wore a maroon sundress, her hair loose and natural, her face glowing with health and happiness. Brenda was visiting, sitting on the porch with iced tea. You've really created something special here, little sister. It's my sanctuary. My reminder that beautiful things can grow from nothing if you tend them carefully. Are you talking about the garden or your life? Naomi laughed. Both. They sat together in comfortable silence, and Naomi felt profound gratitude for her sister, for her unwavering support during the darkest time. Do you ever think about him? Brenda asked carefully. Trevor? Sometimes. But only in the way you'd think about a book you once read. Like, oh yeah, that happened. There's no emotion attached anymore. Good. You deserve to move forward without that weight. I have moved forward. So far forward that the past feels like someone else's life. That evening, Naomi hosted a dinner party. Paula and her girlfriend, Darius, Jordan and Riley from work. A few other friends she'd made over the past year. They ate on her back porch, surrounded by the garden, laughing and talking and celebrating simple joy. Looking around at these people, at this life she'd built, Naomi felt overwhelming happiness. This was her revenge, she supposed. Not against Trevor specifically, but against the narrative that betrayal had to break you. That divorce had to define you. That being chosen second meant you were second best. Her revenge was thriving. Was building a successful business. Was owning a beautiful home. Was cultivating a garden and meaningful relationships. Was creating art that resonated with people. Was finding love again with someone who actually valued her. Her revenge was becoming more herself than she'd ever been when she was trying to fit into someone else's vision of who she should be. That night, after everyone left, Naomi stood alone in her living room. The house was quiet, clean, full of furniture she'd chosen and art she'd created. She walked through each room, turning off lights, checking locks, just being in her space. In her bedroom, she looked at the blue walls, the comfortable bed, the photos on her dresser. Not wedding photos. Photos of her and Brenda. Her and Paula at their office opening. Her and Darius in Jamaica. Her artwork from the gallery. Images of her real life. Her real self. She got ready for bed, went through her nighttime routine, crawled under soft covers. As she was drifting off to sleep, she thought about the letter she'd left Trevor a year and a half ago. The one where she'd said goodbye, explained her choice, taken control of her narrative. That letter had been her closing statement on that chapter of her life. This life now, this beautiful, full, joyful life, was her opening statement on everything that came after. Trevor had blocked her before his vacation, thinking he was the one with power. Thinking he was the one making choices. But Naomi had made the real choice. She'd chosen herself. And in doing so, she'd chosen everything. Freedom, peace, success, love, happiness. All of it hers. All of it earned. All of it real. She fell asleep smiling, the moonlight streaming through her window, her garden outside growing in the dark, preparing to bloom again when the sun rose. Just like her. Always blooming. Always growing. Always choosing herself. Forever.